Welcome everyone to our webinar today. We're so excited for everyone to join us for this very special webinar from classroom to clinic, LSVT training and certification options for university programs. And I know everyone is filtering in right now, so we welcome you. My name is Laura Gousset, and I'm joined by my colleague, Angela Halpern, and we are both I'm a PT, Angela's an SLP, and we serve as the Chief Clinical Officers for LSVT Big and LSVT Loud. But one of the funnest parts of our job is getting to work with students and university groups that are eager to learn LSVT Big and learn LSVT Loud. And so that's really what this webinar today is all about, is just to share some information with you on the nuts and bolts of how student and university training works. This is a little bit different than our traditional webinars that are more focused on clinical or scientific content. This is more about logistics. And certainly if you're looking more for those introductory topics, clinical topics, let us know and we can point you to those webinars as well for future reference. This webinar was also created in response to a great deal of questions that we get from students and universities wanting to know how they can provide these opportunities for students where they are. So we welcome you and we hope this information in this webinar is really helpful to you. I won't read through our biographies here, but they are here for your reference. Angela and I are both employees of LSVT Global and receive lecture honorarium, and we have a non-financial relationship of a preference for the LSVT treatment techniques. A few logistics for this webinar. Right now, you should be automatically muted with your microphone. At the end, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions. You can ask them really anytime during the webinar, and we'll save them and answer as many as we can at the end. There should be a Q&A icon in your Zoom control panel where you can enter your question, and we'll answer those live. Or if it's something private, you can just let us know and we can send you a private response to those questions as well. Angela will drop in the handout into the Zoom chat so that you can download that and save that if you didn't already receive it via email. It was probably sent to your email about an hour prior to this webinar starting, but if you didn't get it, we'll drop it in the chat again now. At the end of the webinar, a survey will pop up. We would love it if you would just provide us some feedback on how valuable this content was, if you could see everything, if the technology was working well. We're always striving to do a better job with that. In terms of continuing education units, here's some basic information. This is not pre-registered for CE approval for physical and occupational therapists, and is not ASHA or state registered. However, if you like to use it for self-reported CE credit, please let us know by emailing webinars@lsvtglobal.com to request a certificate. Of course, you have to attend the full hour, and there'll be just a few questions to answer so that you can just validate your attendance, and then we'll send you that certificate via email. Here are the learning objectives for today's webinar. By the end, we hope that you'll recognize the growing need to equip and prepare therapists to treat people living with Parkinson's disease, and I would say other neurological conditions as well. A great part of this webinar will be talking about why student training is advantageous, and we'll discuss the different training models that universities or individual students can employ if they want to get certified. So to start off, we have a couple of polling questions. We'd really like to know who is joining us in our audience. And so just give me a second to load up this poll here. So just let us know if you're a student currently in a therapy program, a faculty, a clinician that's currently working, or none of the above. And we'll give you a few seconds to answer, and then we'll share the results. Okay, looks like almost everyone has answered. And it looks like we have a really nice distribution. We have a few faculty, some professionals, a student, and some others as well. So thank you for letting us know. And I think this presentation will be broad enough to answer questions no matter who you are. All right, so one more quick polling question. If you're a therapist, are you certified in LSVT Big or LSVT Loud currently? So let me just launch this and go ahead and take a second to answer. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. And we are dead even. Half are certified and half are not. So awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Well, we want to open up this webinar by just really talking about our heart and our mission as a company. We know that the prevalence of Parkinson's is growing rapidly, and this study came out in JAMA Neurology in 2018 that said that the prevalence is expected to double by 2040. We also know on top of that, we have an aging population, and there's a great need and a growing need for therapists and healthcare professionals who have expertise in Parkinson's disease. This was a study that really just came out in 2022 that looked at specifically the United States, and the incidence of PD is actually 1.5 times higher than prior estimates. So you can see the current incidence listed here for these age categories. And that means that about 90,000 new cases are added annually in the United States for a total population of around 1 million people in the United States living with Parkinson's disease. And I thought this quote was, really relevant to what we do. This was from Dr. James Beck that said the data underscore the urgency of being able to address PD at a national level through a concerted effort. And I think we can really tackle Parkinson's and hopefully at one point have a world without Parkinson's. And that's really echoed in what we do as well. In the meantime, we're going to improve the quality of life as much as we can for people living with Parkinson's. But of course, the dream would be to end Parkinson's disease. Beyond Parkinson's disease, there are many people living with other neurological disorders, up to 1 billion people worldwide. And so you can see that Parkinson's disease is a big part of this, but if you take a look at stroke, that's 10 times more, Alzheimer's, different dementias, atypical Parkinsonisms, add another 3 million, and then multiple sclerosis, CP, and Down syndrome. And we add these because these are conditions that also can be addressed when appropriate through the LSVT protocols. So this is really our mission, is to empower people then with PD and other conditions to restore and maintain their highest levels of functional communication, mobility, and independence in their daily life through LSVT Loud, which is our speech therapy, and LSVT Big, which is a physical and occupational therapy. So some of you said that you're not certified in LSVT Loud or LSVT Big yet, and this is just a brief description of these and what makes them unique. They're intensive treatment protocols, they're amplitude focused, and they're really based upon theories of neuroplasticity and motor learning that either you learn about as a student, or if you're a faculty, a lot of your course emphasis is placed on these topics. They also incorporate a sensory component to train a person's ability to target normal movement amplitude or normal speech loudness. And in the training course, we talk a great deal about what we call a sensory mismatch, in that people with Parkinson's are often too soft in their voices and too small in their movements, but because of the sensory component, they don't really perceive that. And so a part of the LSVT protocol is training clinicians how to recalibrate this so that they understand the amount of effort needed to speak normally at a normal volume and move normally in everyday life as well. So these are standardized treatment protocols that are based on many years, in fact, decades of scientific research. And LSVT Loud came first, and then LSVT Big was a translated PT and OT treatment protocol based on that. These are 1 month intensive protocols. So you think of intensive burst therapy. It takes a lot of repetition to make new habits and neural changes in the brain. They're delivered 16 sessions over a month, 4 days a week for 4 weeks. They're individual one-on-one 1 hour sessions. Patients have daily homework practice to really get them in the habit and keep them going even after discharge. And they also have daily carryover assignments that help with generalization of their function into everyday life. So these are definitely protocols that are standardized, but yet they're not cookie cutter. They're very much individualized. Every patient is unique. There's not one person with Parkinson's who has the same complexities, the same goals, the same needs, etc. And so you can utilize the protocols as a framework to adapt or progress and tailor them to meet their needs. For example, in LSVT Big, we can adapt the exercises to a wide range of physical and motor abilities. And also we can make them more challenging, both in LSVT Loud and LSVT Big through dual tasking, motor challenges, etc. Functionally, we work on goals that are salient to the person. That could be related to simple things like rolling over in bed or getting dressed, to more complex things like playing a game of golf or being able to sustain their normal voice throughout an entire meeting that they're presenting in. So really, we take very seriously the individualized needs for each person. It's been a journey of research over the last 3 decades, starting with LSVT Loud and moving on to the introduction and translation of LSVT Big over the last 30 years. So you can see there's been multiple randomized control trials on LSVT Loud and also now 3 on LSVT Big. LSVT Loud in particular is the only speech treatment for Parkinson's disease with level 1, which is the highest level of evidence. So what's really special about this is that the research didn't stay in the lab. It didn't remain in the ivory tower. And that's not an easy task to really get this valuable research in the hands of clinicians. So that's all about what we do as a company, is taking this research that's been done over the years and teaching students and teaching therapists how to do the protocol correctly so they get those same robust results as in the research lab. Beyond Parkinson's disease, there have been research studies published on LSVT Loud and LSVT Big on other conditions besides Parkinson's disease, which are listed here. You can see that the ones in blue are for LSVT Big. All of them relate to LSVT Loud. And so we are excited about this. And in the course, we talk about how to make decisions, whether LSVT could be utilized for other populations, how to make that assessment, and also how it might look different if you're using it with another diagnosis. Now, if you're a student, this has been drilled into your head that evidence-based practice matters. And I know you that are professors are doing a good job of really training your students to always look to the literature. And we would say after you graduate, if you're a student and you're thinking about, I want to keep learning, I want to be a lifelong learner, there's so much to learn, how do I even decide? And we say, really, just like in school, look to the evidence, investigate it, see what kind of research has been published on it, what the expected results are, so that like, is this something that's been studied, or is it just based on theories or principles? What's the depth and the quality of the research? And that'll give you confidence that this is a treatment that really works. This is just a brief snapshot of our training and certification. We've been training clinicians and students for many years, first with LSVT Loud and then in LSVT Big. It's 9 years since we've had our online course in LSVT Big and 12 years for online training in LSVT Loud. And we've gone through several iterations In fact, we just newly updated our online courses for both LSVT Loud and LSVT Big. So today we've trained trained clinicians in about 96 countries, which is exciting, and over 60,000 clinicians worldwide who've been certified in LSVT Loud and LSVT Big. On the right side, you'll see a student snapshot of how many students that we trained in 2022. And this was students that took one of our courses just on their own, and it also includes students that took their courses through a university, which we'll talk about in this webinar. So why student training and certification? Not all CE courses offer LSVT or offer their course to students. They limit it to professionals, but we really feel like it's important. Students are our future. And if we had to nail down the top whys of why we do this, this is it. It really reinforces what they learned in the classroom regarding motor learning and neuroplasticity, and not only reinforces that, but teaches them how to apply these concepts. And we hear this a lot from students is that, you know, I learned about this in the class, but I really didn't know what it would look like to implement it into a treatment intervention. So students really value that. It allows students to gain hands-on experience and mentorship. So if they get certified in LSVT and then go on their field work or clinical rotations, and they have the opportunity to work with a clinical instructor who's also certified in LSVT, boy, is that ever a valuable opportunity to have them have some hands-on practice under that supervision and mentorship of someone who's already certified. After they're certified and see a few clients, you know, in their clinicals, for example, that also enables them to participate in treatment research studies on LSVT Loud or LSVT Big if your university is involved with that. Students tell us often it improves their marketability, gives them an edge, and it gives them a solid foundation so that they have confidence when they go out, they know what to do with patients with Parkinson's disease, and they can apply some of the constructs and framework to other diagnoses they see as well. For students, they also have a substantial cost savings, which Angela will go through later. This was actually pulled from a blog article. So the SUNY Downstate occupational therapy students did a study. I don't believe they published it, but it's a really interesting study that they did. They had trained students in LSVT Big through our online course for a number of years, and they surveyed the alumni to see, did this end up being valuable for you or not? And they looked at a lot of metrics, but I thought I would just share with you some of the general summary of the benefits that they found. They found that they could apply, you know, their skills during their level 2 field work. This is OTs, increase their competitiveness during their first job searching, and they felt more confident during that initial job search as well. When they got onto the job, their first job, they reported increased competency, increased job performance, they felt empowered, and they had increased job satisfaction and accomplishment as well. 85% said they would recommend it to future students, and 92% felt it was valuable overall for them. And this is a cute little picture from some of the students that were engaged in that study. And I won't read all the quotes here, but you can see just at a glance that they felt like it was valuable to them, not only working with their patients with Parkinson's, but a variety of neurological conditions, and it gave them confidence. And for students, you know, that's really what they want to feel when they graduate is, okay, I know I passed my boards, but now I also want to feel confident that I'm going out in the real world, my first job, and I know what I'm doing. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Angela, and she's going to walk you through the different training options.
Thank you, Laura, for that wonderful background. So as Laura mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, it is a bit different of a webinar in that the request has been, how does training and certification look in the university? How can I get my students trained? So this is more, we're going to walk through some of the logistics and details of how that would work in response to those requests and questions. So LSVT Loud and LSVT Big training and certification can be offered in two different ways. So it can be done via a virtual live option or via an online asynchronous option. Students take the same course as professionals, and once they finish the course, it results in the same certification. So the virtual live option, let's walk through that first, is all of this is accessed through our learning management system. And that's how we can keep track of attendance for CEUs and for the certification purposes. So individuals start first with several hours, it's about 3 to 4 hours of pre-recorded asynchronous learning. And this goes through the research, the rationale behind LSVT Loud or LSVT Big. Then they join 2 live days of training, and they access it again through our learning management system, but it's via a Zoom link. So it looks very similar to what we're doing today. They can see the faculty teaching, they see the slides, there's the chat to ask questions in real time. And then what participants really appreciate about the virtual live option is we are able to use smaller breakout rooms on Zoom and put people into practice groups. So on the first day, we organize everyone into small groups of 4, and some people role play therapist, some people role play patient, and they're given the protocol to practice, and as faculty, we can come and give feedback. On day 2, we actually bring in people with Parkinson's disease, and they do a 1-hour therapy session with the participants. And so we just divide the participants up into an individual therapy room with each of the volunteers with Parkinson's and get an opportunity to practice hands-on and get that feedback from faculty. So the feedback we get from the virtual live option is that people feel like they were at an in-person course because of all of that interactivity. We have several virtual live offerings throughout the year. And so if you want to see if any of the virtual live dates would work for you, for your students, those are listed on our website, and you see the link there. And you just go to get certified, and then you select the virtual live option. And again, because of certification, students go through the same process as anyone else taking the course. Students are invited to join these virtual live courses as well. We also, if you're not familiar yet, are very excited to share the information that if you have more of a pediatric focus for speech therapists, we have a virtual live option that's LSVT Loud for Kids. And this entire course has a pediatric focus. So many times I get the question of, well, if I take the kids course, can I also work with adults? It results in the same LSVT Loud certification. It's just this course is offered through the lens of the pediatric population. So the LSVT core protocol remains the same. We're doing it the same way. It's just the activities are salient and individualized for each person. So this course would give examples of treatment activities for pediatric populations and treatment ideas. All the videos are with pediatric clients, and it's just all provided through that lens. So the research is focusing on the research that we have with these pediatric populations to date thus far, which mostly at this point is focused on individuals with cerebral palsy and Down syndrome. So if individuals take the kids course, they can still work with adults. If people take the adult course, they can still work with kids. We also have an online asynchronous option available for both LSVT Loud and LSVT Big. This is probably our most popular option for universities to use with their students because of the flexibility. Individuals, because it's asynchronous, pre-recorded, can complete it at their own pace, and I'll get into a few more details here about different options of how that could work. These online courses are newly updated, LSVT Big within the last few years, and LSVT Loud. We just released a new course in the fall. So we've got all the latest and greatest in research, new treatment videos. So we're really excited about what these offer. So with this, individuals would have 60 days to complete the course from the day of registration. The pre-recorded modules are broken into really short learning modules, and we have the time listed after each module. So it makes it really easy to fit into a busy schedule. And we've had that feedback from individuals who have taken the course of, I loved that you had modules that were 10 to 15 minutes long, because if I just had a little bit of time, I could get that module in. There are around 100 video demonstrations. So these courses are rich with video examples, presentations, clinical examples, treatment examples. There's interactive modules. So you're going to be asked to listen and provide replies and do some ratings throughout to get that level of interactivity. And also there are knowledge review questions and exams built in. Both courses, whether it's virtual, live, or online, there is a certification exam at the end of the course. And the online course and the virtual live both include all the training materials needed. So let's get into a little more of the details for these online courses. Some models are, it could be completed completely individually at the person's own pace, in a group, so a whole university group meeting together, or in a mixed model. So we'll go into these in a little more detail now. So online option 1 is individual learning with or without a lab. So here students would complete the online training on their own time. So 60 days to complete the course from the day of registration. A faculty group facilitator who is already LSVT certified might then choose to offer an optional lab at the end of the training period for the students. So they might bring in a few people with Parkinson's, have the students go through LSVT Loud or LSVT Big and give them feedback. But that's completely optional and up to the group to decide. The online option 1 of individual learning is the easiest to coordinate and the most flexible, because people are just doing it on their own time at their own pace. And so we do find when this option is used, a lot of times faculty want it to be offered over breaks. So, over the Christmas break or over a summer break, so students can complete it. With this option, students must be responsible to complete the training on their own within that 60-day window. Or some faculty will set a shorter timeline. I really want everyone to complete by this date because we're having a lab, or they're going to start a clinical practice with an LSVT patient and I want them to have the training done by then. So as faculty, you have the flexibility to adjust these timelines for what might work for your curriculum or for your clinic schedule. Option 2 is group learning. So this is still the online pre-recorded asynchronous course, but everyone is doing it together. So faculty do not need to be previously certified. You can learn right along with the students. In this option, it is a minimum of 2 full days to get the course done, 8 hours each day. Many universities will choose to even break that out into smaller segments for the learning. Students and faculty register and test the login process prior to the group learning day, so people aren't showing up on that first day ready to learn and having any technical difficulties. Those are all taken care of ahead of time. So with the process, everyone brings their laptop to the classroom. They walk through all of the modules together. The faculty facilitator projects the course onto a large screen, and the students are just advancing on their own laptops with their computers on mute, but everyone's watching the course together. The reason everyone needs to be walking through the course together on their own laptop is because everyone's logged into their own course, and that's how we can track attendance and know that everyone's completing all the modules. For modules that include exercise practice, you can pause, participants can practice together, and then resume the modules. We can offer suggestions to you, of how to break the modules up if that's something you're interested in, and we're happy to help. It can be very flexible based on your needs. The third option is a mixed option. This is doing part of the asynchronous course individually and part together as a group. So in this option, students would complete some of the learning modules on their own and then come together as a group and do the others. What we tend to find is many faculty will have the students do the beginning modules on their own because those are more the research, the rationale behind the approach. And then when it comes to the methods of how do I actually do the treatment, they would come together as a group and walk through those together. Some then finish the rest of the course together. Many universities I've worked with then have the students, after the methods, finish the remaining course on their own and then complete the final exam on their own. You have the ultimate flexibility, again, to tailor that to best fit your needs. With this option, students must be responsible to stay on pace so that if they were supposed to be through module 10 before the learning date, they have finished up through module 10. So everyone can start in the same place. Again, as faculty, you don't need to be previously certified. You can learn right along with the students. And then you may still choose to have that extra lab at the end if you so choose. So value-added benefits of LSVT certification. It's much more when that registration fee covers much more than just the course itself. The courses come with downloadable resources, everything you need for assessment, treatment, clinical practice. And we also have these available in multiple languages. Once individuals are certified, we are passionate about ongoing support. We tell our therapists, you're stuck with us forever. You don't really know what you don't know until you get in and start practicing and doing it. So what we like to offer after certification are ongoing live and on-demand webinars on advanced topics. And these are driven by what our therapists say they want more information on to help enhance that learning. Individuals have access to LSVT clinician Facebook groups that they can use for networking. Direct access to LSVT faculty through Ask the Expert emails. We also have homework helper videos that people can use and share with their patients to enhance home practice. And then exclusive access to advanced Big for Life and Loud for Life courses. Big for Life and Loud for Life are maintenance classes for individuals once they have finished their LSVT Loud therapy, where they meet together as a group and practice the LSVT Loud or LSVT Big exercises together as a group. Fosters great camaraderie, empowerment, support. And so there's the option when you're LSVT certified to lead one of those classes yourself. And actually, if you're interested in learning more about that, our webinar next month is going to be focused on what happens after LSVT therapy, and we'll talk more about those classes there as well. Individuals who are certified are listed on our website if they so choose, that they can be found. We have a button that says find a clinician near you. People type in their zip code and your name would pop up. Now, for students, you're not listed while you are certified. Once you complete the course, you're not listed on that website until after you graduate. Upon graduation, you simply contact us, say, hey, I've graduated, here's my diploma. And at that time, we can add you to that clinician directory if you so choose. We provide you with marketing resources to help spread the word that you're now certified and help to educate the public about that. And then one thing we really like to highlight, we get a question about this all the time. There's no additional fee to go from student to professional. So upon graduation, you don't need to take any additional tests. You don't need to pay any additional fees. You simply contact us, say I've graduated, we move you to professional status at that time. So what about the pricing? Many people are probably wondering about this. So we recognize that being a student is financially a hardship. We were students ourselves. We remember this. So we really want to make this feasible for students. So you'll see that just our typical student pricing is significantly discounted. It's at a rate of $325 versus the typical $605 for a professional. We also offer group pricing. So if you're at a university and sometimes students contact us directly, sometimes it's the faculty contacting us, but they say, I have a group, we all want to register together to get an additional discount. So if there's 5 or more, it's $295 per student and then $555 for a professional. Group registrations are handled manually, so you would contact us and we would help you, and I have a little more details about how that works in upcoming slides. And it can be a mix of learners. It might be students, it might be faculty. Sometimes we actually have clinic supervisors that are out in the field supervisors who join the group, that it can all make up your group. And it can be a mix. Some people can choose to take a virtual live course. Some people can choose to take the kids course. Some people can choose to take online. The pricing for faculty, for every 10 students who register and pay, for 1 faculty can also become certified at that rate of $295. So also a significant discount for faculty who might be working with a group. And then it's $555 for each faculty if there's 5 to 9 students. If you're previously certified in LSVT Loud and you facilitate a group, there's no cost to you. You can retake the full course and get those CEUs, and there's no cost to you. And then students or faculty can pay on their own, or sometimes the universities pay, and we can do that invoicing as a whole group. For LSVT Loud, one other thing I wanted to highlight is if there are 20 or more students, your university can be eligible for an LSVT coach for your clinic. The LSVT coach is a data collection tool, collects the sound pressure level, fundamental frequency, and duration. So we offer that complimentary if there's 20 or more students. All right, so what do you do if you're interested in getting a group trained? First, determine when you want to offer the training. When does it fit best into the curriculum, into the year? So I'm a speech language pathologist, the faculty I work with. Some like to offer the training to coincide with voice. Some like to offer it when the students are doing motor speech classes, neuro classes. I have someone now who's offering it to coincide with an instrumentation class because the students are learning about how to collect data on sound pressure level, things like that. So you can really fit it to your curriculum, or you could say, we're going to just do this when the students have a break because that's going to be most feasible for them. Then decide what type of learning model will be used. If it's the asynchronous, you have lots of flexibility. If it's virtual live, then it's going to need to fit the dates that are predetermined by when those are scheduled. Next, you would inform the students of the opportunity, collect their names and emails, and then you're going to determine what's the preferred payment method. Are the students paying on their own? Is the university supplementing some of it? Is the university paying for all of it? And then you would return all of that information to us at LSVT Global. And then what do we do once we receive all that information? So our wonderful online course coordinator, Jennifer Bannon, is your personal liaison through the process. So initial contact is with Laura and myself as we're working out the logistics. And then once you're ready to go, Jennifer takes care of you through every step of the way. She creates a customized registration instruction email for everyone on the sign-up sheet that has a promo code for your group to get that discount. She would then monitor the registrations and follow-ups and help with any technical issues that might arise. If you're getting printed materials, those materials would be shipped to each person. Some people choose to just get electronic downloads of the materials. And then we are here as faculty, as support to offer any help support, answer questions that students or faculty have during or after the course. So this is a wonderful quote from a student who went through the LSVT Big certification. And they said, "I was so glad to have this online option as travel to workshops is impossible at this time. Thank you for offering discount courses to graduate students. As a new clinician, internalizing these principles is invaluable, not just for LSVT, but any treatment approach for any population. And these video models are worth 1,000 textbooks." So this quote does a nice job of kind of bringing it back around to what Laura introduced to you in the beginning of how this can really serve as a foundational training, these principles, these ideas across the different types of populations individuals might be working with. So in summary, there's a huge need for therapists who have an expertise in Parkinson's and other neurological disorders. Thinking about the incidents that slides that Laura presented at the beginning. There are multiple advantages of providing LSVT training and certification at the student level, and we've walked through those advantages and benefits. And so many times students, tell us this was really great to have on their resume, helped to make them more marketable, and really helped them with their confidence as they went into the clinical world. LSVT training and certification can be obtained easily through our virtual live or our online learning formats. So if you're interested in bringing LSVT training to your students, contact us. Email us anytime or come see us in person. I am at ASHA, Laura's at CSM and AOTA, Jennifer's at all three. For LSVT Loud training for speech language pathology graduate students in the United States or speech SLT students in international programs, you would contact me, and your handout also will have all of this information. So there's my email. And for LSVT Big training, you would contact Laura. So you can see that's for PT, PTA, OT, and OTA students. If you just had general inquiries or questions, we have the info at information for you there. If your interest has been piqued, you didn't know as much about LSVT, you want to learn more first, we have lots of opportunities for you. For students, there are Simulcase, and some of you out there may already be familiar with this, but we have a Simulcase Judith for both speech language pathology and occupational therapy focus, and there's information on that here. If you take the online or virtual live LSVT Loud course, you get access to that Simulcase. It's a complimentary access. But many times we have people take the training because they first learned about it through the Simulcase doing that practice. The blog resources are listed for you here. We offer these frequent live and on-demand webinars. The ones on Wednesdays are public if you're not certified and you want to learn more. And then there's the resources for research, LSVT Loud, LSVT Big. We also offer treatment grants for students. And so if you're a student interested in doing research, we offer grants for PT, OT, speech. And we do that every year, simple grant application. So you can get more information on our blog about that. Research does not have to be about LSVT. It's just neurobehavioral research. And then we've listed more web resources, and you can feel free to follow us on social media. So how to ask questions. You can do this a few ways. I see it looks like there might be a few questions in the chat. We can look at that. You can also type them in the Q&A box and we'll respond to the questions there. Or we're a small group, so simply raise your hand. I mean, honestly, that's the most efficient way. Turn your camera on, unmute your microphone, and we can just chat. So we can do it that way as well. If you think of a question later, you can always email us at info@. All right. And then I just wanted to show, I mentioned this briefly, but this is the webinar for next month. And so it's life after LSVT. So we know that the therapies themselves have research supporting data for long-term results just doing the therapy. But we're all human. When we exercise, we need different types of support and motivation. And so this is about what are the different things that could motivate different individuals following treatment. And we'll get into that in more detail. So we want to thank you for joining us today. We will pause here and do our questions, but again, here's all of our contact information. And we just want to remind you to please complete the survey that will display on your screen after you exit. These surveys are what help us to build future webinars and that feedback is really important to us. So thank you. And oh yes, thank you, Laura. Go ahead with the references there. We've mentioned a lot about the research, and that is one thing that's unique about these treatments. They are heavily researched, have all that evidence base. And so you can access through our blog and see the different categories of research. If you're more interested in pediatrics, the pediatric research as well. All right.
All right. Thanks, Angela. And I
Yes.
think a few questions have come in through the chat. And so just kind of scrolling through here. Gosh, thank you everyone for joining us today. All right, I'm going to start with Robert's question. Robert said, I work in mental health with many years of use of psychiatric medication. We notice a loss of motor skills, increased tremors, coordination issues. Have you found LSVT helpful to address these issues? Super interesting question. I'll address it first because it mentions more motor issues. And then Angela, if you have anything to add, that would be great. So as far as LSVT big goes, we do not have any research regarding the use of LSVT big in these populations. However, we know that some psychiatric medications can definitely impact movement and result in somewhat of a secondary Parkinsonism because of that. So there's no contraindication to using LSVT big. Anecdotally, I'm aware of a few cases of therapists who had some success. I would call it, limited success, maybe not as robust as you would see with someone with idiopathic Parkinson's disease, but some improvement is probably better than no improvement. During the training course, if you're not certified yet, we'll teach you how to assess and somewhat prognosticate through a process called stimulability testing. During the evaluation to basically answer the question, can you drive them to move bigger? And is bigger movement better quality movement? Beyond that, we suggest doing a 1-week trial of treatment of LSVT big per protocol to see if that repetition and intensity is resulting in positive changes. At the end of the 1 week, you should know pretty well if things are moving in a positive direction. If they're not, you're not so far into it that you can't pivot to a different treatment intervention. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Angela, anything you want to add to that one from an LSVT loud speech perspective?
I'll just say ditto to everything Laura said because it's all applicable. No research that I know of, but certainly if there were voice and speech characteristics that you felt where LSVT might be beneficial, going through that stimulability protocol that Laura described is very similar to what we would do in LSVT loud. I just wanted to follow up on, hi, Lisa, I see your comment here. So Lisa Summers from University of Massachusetts has been very successfully implementing LSVT loud training and certification for her students for many years and has a wonderful way of doing it with incorporating lab aspects. And so Lisa, that comment just came to me. So I'm going to, since you said you were willing to share, I'm going to put Lisa's email in the chat to everyone. And if you would like to reach out to her, even if it's LSVT big, not just LSVT loud, she's had wonderful successes and done a beautiful job the way she coordinates and implements her program. So thank you, Lisa.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. All right. Okay. Hi, Diana. Happy to answer your question. Have you had students complete LSVT Big in 1 week. Just wondering if it's realistic. Great question. I would say it depends on what else is going on in your student's schedule. The online LSVT Big course on average takes about 15 hours to complete. It's self-paced. So if they had the week off, then totally, I think they could do that. If they're juggling that on top of a full case workload or class load, I should say, maybe they have a job on the side, I think it would be a challenge to do that. So I guess that's my general estimate with that. Okay, can students be certified in Big for Life as well? Yes, after they've completed the LSVT Big training and certification course, whether they're a student or professional, they can then go on to register for the Big for Life training course. That's about a 3-hour online training course. So, and then after that, students can help lead Big for Life exercise groups in their community. So really fun. And I know actually students in several universities that the university has a Big for Life program that they offer to the community. Angela's nodding her head, so they must do that for LSVT Loud and university clinics as well. And it's really fun because students then can engage, you know, have some hands-on practice with people in the community that have Parkinson's disease. And because this is offered as like a cash-based exercise class, there's no worries about insurance or anything. It's really just for LSVT Big graduates to continue to practice their exercises. Okay, so the follow-up to that was thinking of how realistic it would be to have an LSVT Big program in academic setting with a 4 days a week for 4-week needed. Yeah, so Big for Life could really be a nice option for that, for you to offer to your community, and a great benefit for people in your community as well. All right, next question is, what if 7 students want to do it now, but likely more will want to do it later? That is 2 months from now over spring break. Do you kind of take into account, so one faculty member can take advantage of the 295? Yeah, you know, in situations like that where you say, hey, this is kind of what we plan to do, you might have, you know, 7 register now and, you know, 3 register later. Yes, we're happy to work with you on that. Any further discount for students, faculty of university hosts for live courses? Angela, do you want to talk briefly about our virtual live hosting model?
Yes, and yes,
Okay.
there are additional discounts. I actually handle the organization of hosting for virtual live courses. So if it's something you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me via email. We can set up a time to talk. But in a nutshell, for a virtual live course, the main host responsibility is simply to help us with marketing. We provide you with all the marketing collateral, all the social media posts, any types of images you would need, captioning, brochures, and then we just ask that you distribute it to universities in the area, in the state, in the region, state organizations, rehab hospitals. So anyway, we go through all that with you, but you're aiding us in marketing and spreading the word. And because it's virtual, it's not limited to just that region. It can go anywhere. In return for that help with marketing, you would receive 1 complimentary registration for every 10 people who register. So we would just look at the registrations, and we have 10 people who register. We contact you and say, hey, you've earned 1 complimentary. Who do you want to send? And 20 people, and so on. For LSVT Big, we cap those virtual courses at 100. So the top number of complimentary registrations you would earn would be 9. And, you know, of course, we can never guarantee that. It just depends on the number of registrants. So if you want more details or want to talk about that in more in depth, then we can talk about that as well. We do also have a hosting option for our online courses as well that works in a similar way, where you would host online asynchronous learning, gather learners who all want to sign up under your kind of code and get some complimentary registrations. So we have a few different options.
Great, thanks. As you were talking, Angela, I just thought of one other thing. You may or may not really receive our student in university newsletter. We put out a newsletter exclusively for students and universities 3 to 4 times a year. If you're not on that list and would like to be, you can email just info@lsvtglobal.com with a short message saying, please add me to your university newsletter list. We're happy to do that. We try not to bombard people with too many emails. We know that you get hundreds in your inbox every day anyways, so we try to pack in as much information that's relevant to students in those newsletters, such as our treatment research grants for students, upcoming, student webinars, maybe special promotions that we have for our national conventions in speech, PT, and OT, student spotlights, university faculty spotlights, kind of whatever is relevant to students and universities, we put it in that newsletter. So reach out to us and we're happy to send that to you. I believe that is all of the questions right now. These were all fantastic questions. Again, if you think of additional questions, you have the handout, and on that slide, you have Angela, her email and my email. You can always email us directly as well. This is our favorite part of our job, I think. So we're happy to reach out and set up a time to talk more about your university and maybe questions that you have or plans that you want to initiate. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Angela, and hopefully we'll see you in a future webinar.
Thanks, everyone.